Hello, super expanders. How are you? Some days I get so lucky and I have a guest sitting here with me that I'm so excited to share with you. And today just happens to be one of those days. I have someone so talented, so bright, and just like such a beaming light of energy and inspiration. I'm so excited to share with you Jessica Warnecke.
Hello. Thank you, Corey, for
Hello.
having me. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to chat with you too. So excited that you were able to carve out some time for us to talk to dive into today's conversation. So a little bit of context, Jessica and I know each other from a mastermind, which I think now is maybe like a year and a half ago when
Yes.
we first met inside of the Fast Foundations. And yeah, so time really does fly. And so many deep connections and relationships came out of that container. And I'm so grateful for the connection, the relationship that we have formed from being inside that container.
Yes,
So
absolutely agree. That mastermind came at the perfect time for me. And just meeting you and a few other individuals like you and seeing relationships blossom outside of the mastermind, outside of wanting or needing anything, just to like be naturally acquainted with each other's lives and journey, is made this whole entrepreneurial aspect so much more enjoyable and fulfilling, and even has like taken some of the fear out of it, because I look up to you and people like you and just all that you are doing and accomplishing. And so it gives me energy to keep working towards my goals and what I'm trying to put out there.
goodness, you're such an inspiration to me. I joke sometimes, I think I would probably not have any friends if I hadn't joined masterminds.
Yes, especially during a pandemic, masterminds were very crucial.
All right, well, that and it's like it provides this platform container because I mean we both know that entrepreneurship, we are a special breed of people, and a lot of times the people that are close to us inside of our lives just don't get it.
Hmm.
And yeah, so it's just really nice to have a group that you can lean into, which
Absolutely.
being that special breed really kind of just opens up the floor for me to just dive right in and ask, who is Jessica, like at her essence, at her core? I mean, I have an inkling, I have an
Hmm.
idea, but I love to just dive in and go deep straight off of the bat because I'm working to destroy that. The leading question is, what do we do?
Yes.
And this is how I'm chipping away at it one episode at a time.
Yes. No, I love that, because I am also actively working on answering questions like that without saying, oh, I'm a doctor of physical therapy, or, oh, I'm a business owner. And like taking the titles aside and, explaining myself as, oh, no, I'm a strong woman. I am very passionate. I am very sensitive, very empathetic, but also direct and just very driven. And I love how I've been able to just kind of explore how I feel about myself, and honestly, what my current state is, even just compared to a couple of years ago when I started this journey, and seeing the evolution and the personal growth, and really just feeling more connected with who I am as a person. I love being a daughter. I love being an older sister. I love being a fiance. Those are the things that are important to me, to make sure I show up well in those roles. And then in doing that, the other titles and positions and responsibilities I will show up better for. So I like that you lead with this question, just because I feel like it forces us to answer it in a better way than we otherwise normally would.
Oh my goodness. It's something that really sticks out to me in what you said is being a strong woman, but also sort of the idea of balancing that with the idea of being a sister, being a fiance, all of those things. Because what I feel like I take away from all of that is literally permission to stand in your power, permission to dance in both sides of the energy there of the feminine and masculine that we have inside of us, and doing so in a way that lights you up, that works for you, because there's a lot of conversation going on, I think now, about masculine and feminine. It like breaks open the idea of feminine having to be this passive, lace and flowers sort of vibe, that you can be feminine, be strong, and super capable, all inside of one vessel.
Absolutely. I agree. The whole masculine feminine talk is definitely being out there more. And I think it's a huge factor in my personal growth, like understanding the other side, because by nature I'm a very masculine dominant energy. I like the doing. I like the systems. I like, every strategy and number that you can throw at me to get me to the next place. That's how I've typically saw myself thriving. But over the last couple of years, with so much occurring that's out of my control, out of all of our control, really made me take a step back. And before I even knew what I was doing, being more into that receptive energy and just allowing things to occur, knowing that I cannot control everything, but I'm going to trust that what I have done is setting me up for whatever is coming. And by me taking a minute to just be present and step back has allowed some of the most amazing opportunities to occur. And none of those opportunities could have occurred if I sought them out and worked hard to get them. They only occurred because I was receptive and I allowed that into my life. And so I think it's very important for people to understand that there's two sides and that they're both beneficial in their own ways, and that together they kind of help shape you as the person you truly are.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that. And I love the fact that opportunities flow your way when you are in that open, ready to receive, willing to receive space. So
Absolutely.
speaking of opportunities, we got a little snapshot into what you do as a doctor of physical therapy, but let's explore that a little bit more. Tell us the depths of what you do, who you help inside of that profession.
Yes. So I branched out on my own a couple years ago, and part of me, kind of stepping out of our typical healthcare system and trying to figure out how I really wanted to connect with patients was realizing how broken our medical system is and how it really isn't for the benefit of us as the people. And as a provider, feeling like I had no true control over how I treated my patients and how my patients could experience health and prevention and understanding their bodies. And so, a really important value that I have implemented with people that I treat is looking at them holistically, and not just from a musculoskeletal standpoint, like what is their emotional system? What is their mental health? How have their past experiences shaped who they are today? And connecting the dots between something that might be presenting as a physical pain or injury and recognizing that maybe it's not truly stemming from a physical cause, right? And I've also, one of the main types of people that I love connecting with are women, and I specialize in women's health, pelvic floor therapy, and diving into this world has been so eye-opening because not only is our healthcare a little bit messed up in this country, but the way women are treated in our healthcare system and the way we are educated about women's health, even in school, is just so behind the times, unfortunately, that it's been very eye-opening. to take more courses, read more literature, work with more individuals that are truly dealing with their life, and maybe it's physically presenting in their pelvic floor and what it is affecting them, like today, whether it's, they are scared to be in a relationship because of past, trauma or abuse, or they physically don't understand or trust their body, and therefore they're hesitant to go exercise or move. And diving into that world and just truly making a difference for people that feel like there's no option, there's no one to listen, or there's nobody that gives their story like any opportunity to be uncovered and allow the person to feel like they're on a journey of healing with support, is something that I've really worked hard in my practice the last couple of years, so that I trust people, like typical physical therapy injuries, like I trust they will get better regardless of who they see somewhere else, right? So I truly want to be available for people who just haven't been given the time of day. And, I have a lot of patients who their doctors just send them to me because they're like, we've done every test is normal. We can't figure it out. This is on you. And honestly, I just let them talk and share their stories and ask them certain types of questions that they start to then figure out the pieces of the puzzle. And then together we can take action steps to help them heal. So it's been nice just evolving the last few years as I've done my own thing, but truly focusing on, okay, who are these people that are not getting the service that they need, that they can't find what they're truly looking for? And then how can I make sure I have a good skill set to be able to help them, solve their problem and totally transform their life so that they can just live better.
My goodness, so many just gems inside of what I heard you say on so many levels. We'll start with the fact that you're treating people in a way that's really innovative, but also with an issue for women that can feel such a taboo to talk about. And I can say that because I've had a baby, and who's now no longer a baby, grown woman she is now. But I used to do jumping jacks and would be like, I am a young woman and I should not be peeing my pants when I do jumping jacks or jumping rope, and you feel like embarrassed about all of those things, right? So having someone that you could speak to and trust about something that feels so vulnerable and so I don't know, like hush hush, you wouldn't want to talk about, just that in and of itself is something to celebrate and commend you for. But the big piece of what I was hearing there on two things is that it might be stemming from something completely else. That it made me think of the book, The Body Keeps Score. And I think that is something that needs to be talked about more. Absolutely. Especially inside our healthcare system. I feel like that's like such a huge problem of microscopically looking at the symptom and not ever really digging and peeling back the layers like an onion to figure out what the real root cause is. And then quickly prescribing something for the symptom that then causes like 3 other problems.
Exactly. I know. It's interesting that is still so common. Because you're like, well, okay, clearly we all know that this is just a Band-Aid and this is leading to other issues. And this is not making the person feel well or be healthy. But it's interesting, the lag, I guess, in our regular system catching up. And that's why I think I feel so fortunate to have found that journey and to be able to provide it to other people. And it's also very comforting as, more and more providers start branching out on their own or working in a system where they kind of create different rules a little bit better to provide these types of services. That way it's a culture of educating and focusing on prevention and focusing on, the root cause, rather than just waiting till it's gone on for so long and then throwing a bunch of things at it that may or may not work, but it'll make us money. And then the patient will come back at some point in a little bit. And so it's an interesting environment to work in, but I definitely feel very fortunate that I'm on the outside where I'm at and able to help and connect with people the way I do.
Yeah, women everywhere are grateful for you. So,
Thanks.
something else that you said that really stuck out too, and I feel like is also something to be celebrated and recognized, is that as an expert, you acknowledge and recognize the wisdom that each person holds inside of themselves, so that simply by asking questions, you are able to bring that wisdom to the top for someone to recognize in themselves, that they can start to pinpoint and determine what the root cause is through essentially like question and conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a very important thing for people to understand because so many people, at least in my experience, go to physical therapy or chiropractic care, massager, you name it, but they're relying on the provider to fix them. And truly feeling better, being well, and, if you want to quote unquote fix whatever you're dealing with, comes from the work that that individual is going to do. And so a good provider is going to educate the patient on this, and they're also going to ask the right questions, provide support in a way that the patient is receptive to, so that the patient trusts the provider and feels comfortable. And then on that journey, putting all the pieces of the puzzle together so that the patient understands, hey, I truly have this power within me. Yes, I might ask this expert or that professional for guidance because I need guidance, but truly the work comes from me. And everything I'm doing is showing myself how strong I am, how powerful I am, and how I can set my future self up to live whatever dream life that I have envisioned for myself. And to me, that's so much more empowering and also creates an end result that's going to last, because now that person has all the tools to do what they need to do to stay well or prevent future injuries and or know how to respond in the future if something comes up that is similar to what they've dealt with.
Yeah. So it's multifold then, really, what you're doing outside of treating pelvic floor conditions and issues. You're really teaching women how to be advocates for themselves inside of their own wellness journey, inside of their own life, which is, I mean, hello,
Yes.
amazing.
Yes, I love it.
So this is, I mean, this is quite the movement that you basically are taking on, that you're like the leader of. Along the way, there had to have been some important people who have crossed paths, called you up, mentors, super expanders. I'd love to hear who they have been for you, and maybe a super expander story if you are willing to share.
Oh, yes. I have a lot. I'm so fortunate. Throughout different stages of my life, I really have been around amazing people. And I'll share a couple because they kind of are important pieces of my journey and kind of what got me to here. But just as a child, my father was always a great example for me. And I'm the oldest of seven, and my father was our sole provider. And so I grew up watching him work so hard to give us a life that we had. And, we lived comfortably. We were, pretty easygoing kids. But now being an adult and having a business for myself and watching what my father did throughout the course of his career when he lost a secure job, had to start from scratch, created a business to keep his family fed, put into my mind the fact that, okay, no matter how hard life gets, we can still do something to change our position. And you just got to keep going. And that really got me through so many hard times in life, so many challenging, professional events and, things that I went through when I first was working in the corporate world. And it kind of led me to when I met he's now my fiance, but boyfriend at the time, and I was still working for a corporate company, and I was just getting so burnt out, and I wasn't happy. I was dealing with, stress and mental health issues, and I was like, I think I just need to leave this profession. Like, I just can't give to patients. They're sucking the life out of me. My managers are just like not understanding anything. And my boyfriend said this at the time. He's like, I understand you're going through a lot, but you can either continue to be miserable and keep complaining about your day at the end of every day when you get home, or you can recognize that you need to do something to change your situation. And when he called me out like that, I was like, okay, so you mean you don't want to hear me complain every day when I get home from work?
It was a mic drop moment, huh?
And I was like, oh, ouch. Okay. Well, I needed to hear that. And literally was the best timing and the best thing for me to hear, because it made me quit my job. It made me start a business from scratch, and it made me truly figure out how to do what I'm doing, knowing that, hey, you know what? I trust myself. I'm going to figure it out. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but it can't be as bad as yesterday. So I'm going to move forward. And so those two individuals honestly really set the stage for me, allowing myself to trust myself and knowing that I come from so much discipline and hard work that there's nothing I can't do if I set my mind to it. And so it's kind of interesting because those were even just a few years ago. And I feel like so much growth has happened since then that it all falls into place. But I'm like, you know what? If these two individuals hadn't led by example and hadn't called me out, who knows how long I would have suffered in the state I was in before, just, kicking myself in the butt and saying, Jessica, you got to change.
We lovingly call that calling you up. And I feel like
Yes.
that's a moment of like, you are a life partner kind of person, because I think there's this like perception, right, of our life partners just making things cozy and comfy for us. But I don't know about you, but the thing that I think of when I think of a life partner is someone who truly pushes you to be your best, to show up. They see the greatness in you and will not allow you not to rise into it.
Yes, I know. And this was pretty early on in our relationship. And I just remember being like, okay, first of all, this guy already knows what I need before I know what I need, in a sense. And he is so invested in me and so confident in the skills that he sees that I have, that he doesn't hesitate to say this to me. And that in itself gave me a lot of confidence, or allowed me to see and feel the confidence that I had in myself. And it's just, sometimes certain people in your life are just truly meant to be there.
Ah, still so
So
good.
good. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. So how long? I feel like I'm diving into like the personal details of this. So you guys were dating how long before you were like, yes, this guy is it?
Um, honestly, I would say within the first few months, we both were like, okay, this relationship's different. And especially me, because I was very picky, and I was just like, you know what, I'm busy with work. I don't have time to date unless I really want to date. And when he came into my life, it was just perfect timing. It worked out really well. We just jived right away. And we had such similar core values, which I think is very important for the longevity of a relationship.
Yes.
And we will have been together, let's see, in April, we would have met 6 years ago. So we've been through so many life changes and events and roller coasters. And literally, we're the strongest we've ever been right now, which is awesome because we've put in the work. And he's seen me at my worst. I've seen him in his biggest challenges. And so it's really comforting to know, hey, this is a person who has seen it all and is here for the journey. And I just truly feel, I think when you feel supported, no matter who that person is, if you have somebody who's truly supportive for you, it opens up a whole realm of possibilities, right? And I think that is why, for me, with some of my patients who maybe lack a strong support system, if I am that person that at least makes them feel safe and heard and supported and encouraged, then that is what I'm here for. Like, that is what lights me up. That makes me know, okay, I'm going to go home at the end of this day. I don't have anything to complain about because I am able to be this person for somebody in need. And it just makes me feel so special and happy that I'm able to do that.
Oh my goodness. And you perfectly teed me up for my next question, which is, so you touched on core values and you touched on really your why with your patients. What is it? What is your North Star? What is the thing that each day when you wake up that you're striving for, you're reaching for? And I ask that because I feel like this is something that I've noticed over the years, having conversations with people who are doing big things, who are creating a ripple effect in the world, is there has to be a North Star for you to show up and do those big things. And otherwise it's just so hard. So what is your North Star?
Yeah. So when I am waking up in the morning, I truly kind of focus on what makes me happy, what lights me up, what if I chose this decision or this opportunity, will that truly make me happy? And on paper, being happy or having happy as your goal kind of sounds cliche, but when I think about what it means for me to feel happy, that means I am showing up as my truest self. It means I am feeling fulfilled in the work I do. And when I feel fulfilled, I have the energy and the motivation to keep doing it and to keep helping others. And sometimes what makes you happy one day or 1 week is going to be different than something else. And I like that because it allows me to focus on different things throughout the year and or have different structures in place for how I'm working on myself or working on business that in the long term are all going to complement each other. And so I like to keep it simple, honestly, and say, does this make me happy? And if it does,
Yeah.
awesome.
I love that on so many levels because first of all, I think happy is something that everyone can identify with and resonate with. But what I feel like you really are, the more complex thing that goes with that, which is something that gets talked about a lot now, but not in depth and not, I think, in a way that people really can always identify with. It's alignment. Really, what you're talking about there is real, true alignment with the thermostat
Mm-hmm.
being happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's such a beautiful way. And what I also like in there too is when you were talking about there almost being a variety built into that thermometer or that benchmark or however it is your assessment. But underneath of that layer is an element of self-trust, right? Because I think that something that we all think in at some point in our lives when we're reaching for something is that things consistently, constantly have to stay the same. So whether that's like with an exercise regime or whether that's with a diet or something like that, or whatever solution we're headed for, we want to have the answers in this like consistent, constant 1, 2, 3, 4 step. But the problem is it's so boring and it's hard to stick to when there's not variety in that. So I feel like knowing that and using happiness with that variety there really amplifies and builds an element of self trust that it's not like you're ever going to deviate from the path that you're on.
Yeah, and I think it's important too for people to recognize that we are in control of our happiness. We are in control of doing what we feel aligned with. And you can't truly feel happy or feel like you're in your truest alignment if you are looking for the answers from somebody else or waiting for somebody else to make you feel happy. That has to come from within for it to truly be within you, and to allow everything else to fall in place and the variety to occur, right? Because similar, back when we were chatting about patients looking for providers to fix them, we can't fix them. That comes from within them. Well, we can't look for somebody else to give us our happiness. Who we choose to surround ourselves obviously can have a great impact, but truly that has to come from within ourselves, and we are responsible for doing that work to make sure that we are showing up and being true and honest with ourselves.
So good. I also feel like there's with that being your North Star and the way that you look at it, the way that you approach it, there's so much room for growth, right? Because within that aspect, we sometimes, I don't know, like we pigeonhole ourselves in or put ourselves in a box in certain ways. And the way that you expressed like how you go about it, I feel like it's built in space for growth. And because when someone grows, sometimes you'll look back and you're like, you're not the same anymore.
Yes.
But it gives grace and space for personal growth. And so that being your North Star, it almost seems like there's no need for your North Star to ever have to change, but you as a person can evolve and grow.
Yes. And that is what I absolutely love, because I think change is great. My former self was scared of change, but just the doors it opens and the experiences it can provide makes life so much more exciting, that I'm just like, okay, when is this next? Like, I'm here for this. I'm going to open my mind to this. I'm just going to let these opportunities come in, because you just never know. And I think that is part of the excitement of, what all we work so hard for in our present life in anticipation for that future life. So I've grown to love change.
And what a good thing, because life is nothing but one giant evolution of change, right? Because
Definitely.
nothing ever stays the same.
Nope.
No. So the time has come for a super expander moment for us to really open up the platform, the floor for you to give some super expander advice. I mean, the whole entire episode has been nothing but super expander advice for everyone listening to you speak. But if you could give your younger self any kind of advice, or if it's not that, if there's just a like parting words or a shred of wisdom that you'd love to share with the listeners, what would it be?
I think something that I've really resonated with lately is learning to trust myself. And I think that's just, it's so powerful. And if my former younger self had taken the time to kind of introspectively think about that and truly trust myself, I can only imagine where I'd be right now. But I know that anytime a hardship occurs, whether it's in my control or out of my control, going back to myself, trusting the decisions I've made and the people I've put myself around, and the things that I'm working for in the future, I think really gives me a sense of security. And I hope that that can resonate with somebody out there who maybe is feeling a little stuck, or a little just like, unsure or apathetic about what they really want to do. And if you can kind of think about, okay, well, what would make me happy? And okay, well, that idea sounds very intimidating because it's maybe far removed from where I'm at, but thinking in a way where they truly are trusting in themselves and owing it to themselves to try it. Because if you don't try, you'll never know. I think that's just so powerful for people. And I feel like the past few years have opened up the doors for a lot of people to really step out of their comfort zone. And I love it because I think so much innovation and success and impact can come from that. And so it's something that I truly would love for people who are just, hopefully listening to all your super expander episodes, because every episode is so phenomenal and people can take nuggets of value out of it all. But sitting with themselves and really just saying, like, okay, they're doing this. That's awesome. I don't deserve to be unhappy or stuck or complacent if I don't want to be. So, what is going to make me happy? And how am I going to get there? And let's go.
Yes. Every single word of that. Yes. So good. So I know that everyone listening wants to know you, wants to get into your world. So for those, how can they do that? What's the best way?
So, the best, easiest way for probably everybody, if you're on social media, is to follow me on Instagram. Dr. Jessica PT is my handle, and I'm on there every day. A majority of the time, I'm trying to educate or answer questions or just hopefully lead by example. And it's a great way, honestly, to just get a bunch of information, and hopefully some of it will apply to you today and make your life a little bit better. And then for people who are specifically, interested in more of the pelvic floor education or what that is, or feel like you're needing help but you don't really know where to go with that, I love just helping to answer questions or providing a little bit of guidance on, here's where you can find more information. So you can always shoot me a DM with those types of questions. I try to respond as best as I can. I also have a specific email list just for pelvic floor education. And so you're welcome to sign up for the email list. I definitely don't spam because I hate spam, but it's a way for me to share tips, share educational videos, share upcoming research. And also too, that's where I kind of get feedback from my community of like, okay, I'm working on a program to help you stop leaking with exercise or stop having pain with intercourse. Like, this is the safe space where we can have these conversations, and then you can hopefully find some guidance in any way that can help. So that would be off my main website. And Corey, I can give you the link if that's most helpful.
Of course. And we will
Okay.
drop it in the show notes, both your handle and your website, to make it easy for everyone to connect. And you guys definitely have to slide right on over to her Instagram, because she posts these exercises that are so good. So
Thanks.
don't sleep.
Yes, I love it. It's fun. And I hope that it just continues to be able to help others.
I know it's just going to continue to blossom and grow. I know that you are so busy, and so grateful for you being able to just carve out the time to share your wisdom and your light with us. So thank you so much.
Oh, you are so welcome, Corey. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you.
Thanks.
We will catch you on the next episode.